2001, long before written history, before pyramids or writing or cities, a strange, small-bodied human relative walked the forests of a Philippine island. It wasn't Homo sapiens, it wasn't Homo erectus either. It was something else entirely, a species so unexpected that when scientists finally understood what they'd found, it rewrote what we thought we knew about human evolution. This is the story of Homo Luzonensis. Scene 2, our story begins on Luzon, the largest island in the Philippines. Deep in its northern mountains sits Callao Cave, a limestone cavern carved out over hundreds of thousands of years. Today, it's a tourist site with narrow passages and echoing chambers, but hidden in its floor, layered under sediment, lay bones that no one expected to find. Scene 3. The story starts in 2007 when a research team led by archaeologist Armand Salvador Mijares uncovered a single-foot bone in Callao Cave. It was small, smaller than a modern human's. At first, it seemed like an odd curiosity. Nobody yet realized it belonged to a species science had never named. Scene 4. Over the next several years, the team returned again and again. Piece by piece, more fossils emerged: teeth, hand bones, foot bones, and part of a thigh bone. In total, the remains came from at least 3 individuals. It wasn't a full skeleton. It was a puzzle with most of its pieces missing, but enough to notice something strange. Scene 5. The finger and toe bones were curved, noticeably curved, like the hands of a tree-climbing ape, rather than a modern human's straight fingers. That kind of curvature usually points to an older, more primitive ancestor, but the teeth told a different story. Scene 6. The teeth were small and simple, in some ways resembling modern humans, but the premolars had extra roots, a very ancient trait, rarely seen outside our oldest hominin ancestors. It was as if this creature was built from spare parts of different chapters in human evolution. Scene 7. In April 2019, the team, led by paleoanthropologist Florent Detroit, formally announced the discovery in the journal Nature. They gave it a name, Homo Luzonensis, meaning human of Luzon. It was the first new hominin species named from the Philippines, and only the second small-bodied, Hobbit-like, human relative ever found in island Southeast Asia. Scene 8. That comparison matters, because over a decade earlier, in 2003, researchers found a similar mystery on the Indonesian island of Flores, a tiny hominin nicknamed the Hobbit, or Homo floresiensis. Now more than 3,000 kilometers away on Luzon, another small, strange human relative had turned up. Suddenly, a pattern was emerging. Scene 9. Based on the bones recovered, scientists estimate Homo luzonensis stood quite short, likely under 4 feet tall, similar in scale to its island cousin on Flores. This isn't unusual for creatures isolated on islands. It's a pattern seen again and again in nature, and it even has a name. Scene 10. It's called island dwarfism. When large animals become isolated on small islands with limited food and few predators, natural selection often favors smaller bodies over generations. Elephants have shrunk this way. Deer have too. It's possible, though not proven, that a population of ancient hominins arrived on Luzon and, over thousands of years, evolved into something smaller. Scene 11. Here's where the mystery deepens. Scientists aren't sure exactly where Homo luzonensis came from. One idea: it descended from Homo erectus, a species known to have reached nearby islands over 1 million years ago. Another idea: it traces back to an even older, more primitive migration out of Africa, one science hasn't fully mapped yet. Scene 12. Homo erectus is known to have reached the island of Flores and possibly other parts of Southeast Asia, which means island hopping, likely accidental, perhaps by clinging to floating debris after storms, wasn't out of the question. If Erectus reached Luzon in a similar way, isolation could have driven the changes we now see in Luzonensis. Scene 13. But the curved fingers, curved toes, and multi-rooted teeth are so primitive that some researchers wonder if Luzonensis instead descended from a much older lineage, one that left Africa long before Homo erectus, and that we haven't identified in the fossil record yet. If true, that would mean multiple separate waves of ancient humans reached Asia independently. Scene 14. Normally DNA could settle the debate, but Luzon's tropical climate is brutal on ancient genetic material. Heat and humidity break it down quickly. Despite repeated attempts, no usable DNA has been recovered from the Luzonensis fossils. For now, the family tree stays unresolved. Scene 15. What we do know is the timing. Homo Luzonensis was alive as recently as 50,000 to 67,000 years ago. That means it likely overlapped in time with modern humans moving through Southeast Asia. Whether the two ever crossed paths on Luzon itself is still unknown, but the possibility is tantalizing. Scene 16. Interestingly, evidence from the same region shows animals were being butchered with stone tools on Luzon more than 700,000 years ago, long before Homo Luzonensis is known to have existed. That means some hominin was on this island far earlier than the fossils we have. Was it an ancestor of Luzonensis? The evidence doesn't say yet, but it hints the island's human history goes back much further than we can currently prove. Scene 17. Homo Luzonensis matters because it shatters the old, simple story of human evolution. One straight line from ancient ancestor to modern human. Instead, it shows a messier, richer picture. Multiple human species on multiple islands evolving in parallel, each shaped by their own isolated corner of the world. Scene 18, we now know that as recently as 50,000 years ago, our planet held several different kinds of humans at once. Homo sapiens, Neanderthals, Denisovans, Homo floresiensis, and Homo luzonensis, all alive together on the same Earth at the same time. Modern humans are the only ones left. But for a while, we shared this world with cousins very different from ourselves. Scene 19. Many questions remain. Was Homo luzonensis truly a separate species, or a strange variant of something already known? Where exactly did it come from? Did it make tools? Did it ever meet modern humans face to face? Researchers are still digging, literally, in Callao Cave and beyond, hoping the island has more answers buried beneath its floor than Scene 20. Homo luzonensis reminds us that the story of humanity was never simple. It was scattered across islands, shaped by isolation, and full of branches we're only beginning to uncover. Somewhere in the world, more bones are still waiting, quiet clues to chapters of our story we haven't read yet.